Good evening and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's a slightly bunged up Rich here. As the day's gone on, I don't know what it is. My nose has just got more and more blocked. And I'm joined by Kev. Kev, I've not seen you on the pod for a little while. I know we did an early one the other day. You couldn't get on, but it's great to have you on this Saturday evening.
I'm here, mate. I'm here. Nothing better to do on a Saturday night. So if any of our listeners have got any better offers for me in the future, then maybe I'll be off the pods now. Mate, what else could I want for a Saturday night than to spend it with a bunged up you?
Exactly.
Talking all things Villa and the crazy activity we've had in the transfer market with all of our fans. So yeah, let's go.
Let's go. I know backstage. I don't know what we say backstage, but yeah, before we started, you said you felt a rant coming on. I'm getting a little clue what it might be about. So yeah, we're not going to waste too much time. But guys, we just thought we'd get on. There's not been a huge amount of news, as I think Kevin's alluding to there. We will cover one or two things, but get your comments in, get your questions in about anything you want. You know, who might we sign? Why haven't we signed anyone? Do you think we need anyone? Do you trust Unai? Any questions you want, like what are you expecting for the rest of the season? We'll just talk. We'll just chew the fat. So yeah, let's. We've got comments coming in already. So Eddie's Football Waffle says, good evening, guys. He's dropping a like. Thank you, mate. And everyone else, please do drop a like on the video. We've got Super Unai Emery says, good evening. I'll be tuning in. He's got a lot to say about our transfers. So, yeah, along with you, Kev, I'm sure. Michael's in the house this evening, all just blasting some ELO.
Hang on a minute. Didn't ELO do Mr. Blue Sky, the blues song?
Oh, I don't know.
Careful, Michael. Careful. You're not a secret agent, are you? Trying to do us over.
No, I don't know about that. Rachel, hi, Rachel. Glad to see you on board. Richard's in. Hi, guys. Yeah, great to see you, mate. Deontay, one of our massive supporters. So thanks for all your comments on Twitter, Deontay. It's much appreciated. Hope you're doing well, mate. And so we talk with people talking transfers and talking Europe and stuff like that. So we'll get into that a bit later. Where do you want to start, mate? I'll leave it up to you. Where do you want to start?
Where do we want to start? Let's talk about our FA Cup performance today. Oh no, we lost, didn't we? We lost to Stevenage. Sorry. I really dislike watching the FA Cup today. I was watching that first half of the Spurs Preston game, thinking, bloody hate the FA Cup. It really annoyed me. Because we really should be in that draw, obviously. Playing Stoke, I think it's tomorrow when they're playing Stevenage, and when I'm hearing them talking about, it's a good opportunity when obviously Leicester won, it's a good opportunity when Southampton won. I'm thinking that could have been us. So, but then I thought, well, maybe the enforced break gives them a bit more time to play with the players, maybe a chance to get some new faces in, maybe. So, I think maybe we start off with transfers, mate, and transfer talk, because I know that I'm probably like a lot of Villa fans. I've got repetitive strain injury from just refreshing my Twitter feed.
Yeah, it is mad, isn't it? I'm just constantly looking at it, and any teaser that the Villa Twitter social media team put out, it's just current players. They did a nice feature on Ashley Young earlier this morning. We love Ashley Young, but we want what we need. We need transfers. So let's talk about outgoings, because I do quite like this strategy in terms of, getting rid of players that were just filling up spaces on the bench, weren't they? Gilbert's gone, and now it looks like which we'll come on to some of his comments in a bit. But Augustinson's looking like he's going. It was okay player, but is he going to be better than what we've got? Like, do we need him hanging around the place, or is it better him going off and doing what he wants at Mallorca, as it looks?
Well, I know I'd rather be in Mallorca than Birmingham. What a great place to be. But I'm with you on this, mate. I agree that getting rid of the dead wood, so to speak, you don't want to be disrespectful to the players, but obviously not getting much game time is a good strategy if, and a big capital I, capital F, if we bring in some players to supplement the squad. We've seen from the bench lately. Michael, apologies, by the way, for even suggesting he might be a blue nose, mate. I take that back. I apologise to everyone. Michael's definitely not a blue nose. If as we've seen from the benches in some of the games lately, we've had some youngsters on there. You know, my kids were on the bench the other day. You know, and he's struggling. And clearly, you know, he's not giving Caden Young any minutes yet. We know it's probably there for experience. So if you are going to move on, Augustinson, a Gilbert, a Sanson, there's big talk obviously in the Camber, there's talk of Chambers. Bednarek's obviously gone back. All of these players, Archer's gone out on loan, who aren't getting game time, then I'm all for it. If it frees up wages and gives him a chance to refresh the squad. And I'm trying to keep the faith. There's still a few days left. You know, some clubs do a double deal on the last day of the window. So I'm trying to be patient. I'm not going to go full rant. As much as that, I was obviously a comment on Twitter about my rants, but because I'm trying to say that whole in Unai we trust. But
yeah,
can I just say I would see it as if we didn't bring anybody in. I felt this, you know, in previous seasons many times. You know, that season when obviously we had such a good start under Dean Smith, and you know, I felt if we'd have pushed on in the January, it maybe would have got us that top 10 finish. We obviously had quite a good January last year too. We had mixed success. You know, Coutinho initially was good. Dean looked good initially, but you wouldn't say it was any great success now in hindsight. But it feels like an opportunity when there's a few teams off it. I mean, look, we're right next to Chelsea and Liverpool in the league. There's only a few months left of the season. If you brought in a couple of players, really galvanise and push the squad forward, who's to say you couldn't get ahead of those? You'd hope to reel in a Fulham, a Brentford, a Brighton maybe. You'd hope to reel these teams in. You could be talking the difference between finishing 9th and maybe finishing 6th, potentially, with a bit of momentum, a couple of players. And I just think that we've got to take the opportunity now when West Ham are really struggling, when Leicester are down, when Wolves are nowhere near it. I think you've got to take the chance to push on now. So I hope there's lots happening in the background, but I'm worried we've left it a bit late now.
Yeah, it is. I do agree. Obviously, we've signed Alex Moreno. We've obviously signed John Duran as well, and there was pictures of him training the other day. Before I kind of talk on my side about the transfers, I mean, Emery said that he was one for the future, but it's looking like Duran might be used more regularly in the first team.
Mate, he's going to have to be, isn't he? He's going to have to be. If anything happens to Watkins, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other options, is there? I mean, there's no one else unless you're playing a Bailey up top, who's been the closest thing to it. Which you know, obviously my thoughts on that.
You can't rely on him. That's the point. It's not that he's not. You know, I think I think there's a player in there, and I think he's a frustrating player, but he can be a match winner. But you can't rely on him. There's no way.
No, it'd be like playing out Ghazi or Traore up top, wouldn't it? Like,
yeah.
I know there's also obviously talk of that, particularly with Traore. You know, he can play in the forward positions, but I think it's who you play with. So, look, the season has had a lot of positives, obviously, since what happened with Gerrard, with Unai. And I do think now, if you see from our performances, that the game plan and the strategy has got us a few results and maybe a little bit of luck here and there. Because obviously we haven't been that convincing in some of the games that we've got victories in. Although, that being said, I do think the decisions in the Southampton game were fair, but you can easily see a situation where that isn't given and then, you're losing the game. So if it is that this is the squad that we've got and we stay injury-free and we finish around about the top 10 and then we kick on in the summer and he gets the transfers that he really wants to bring in and they don't want to just bring in bums on seats. They don't want to bring in the equivalent of, of a Baston or Samatta or a Drinkwater or someone that isn't really going to enhance the first team, then I guess you've kind of got to trust that. But it feels like we could do something. We could sneak into a European position depending on what happens with the other competitions. And I think you've kind of got to take that.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, it has to be the right player, but there are players around, and we'll get into some rumours in a second. But I totally agree with you. You know, yes, fair enough. We're getting rid of some of these players that aren't going to improve the side when they come on. Isn't any point in them really being on the bench. So, but at the same time, we're losing bodies. And when you look at the bench that we put out against Southampton, yes, we've got McGinn coming back, Diego Carlos coming back, one or two others, but it's still leaving us very thin in those attacking, areas, match winning positions. Like Bailey, he's starting every game at the moment. there might be a time when you need to have him coming off the bench and being an impact player. You know, if he's being inconsistent, you need people breathing down Douglas Luiz's neck. You can't just have him playing every week in, week out, because he gets casual. We know that. So you've got to keep that competitive spirit in the squad up, and sometimes a player coming in can freshen that up. So I hope that we're going to bring someone in. I do think we will, but it's and it's interesting that loan players are getting called back, because that tends to mean that loan players are potentially coming in, and it obviously means that you're not necessarily committed to big transfer fees. So we'll see. But lots of comments coming in. I will go through them. Let's have a look. We've got Super Inari. It says lack of transfers are worrying. It's also very frustrating. I'd say slightly frustrating. I wouldn't be too worried about it. I honestly wouldn't be too worried about it. Kevin's joined us, said happy if we only make one more signing, as long as it's a quality one like Guendouzi. We will come on to that. Super Inari says Guendouzi's not coming to Villa. Does he need to spell it out for us? Well, we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. Michael says, I'm happy if we don't sign anyone else, as in the past we've made too many signings at this point who have been useless. That's a good point. Yet we don't want wasted players. The last time we had a bit of a break, 2 weeks with Emery at Bodymoor, they've been awesome since. I, for one, are grateful at being out of the Cups. We can focus purely on the Premier League. Yep, let's hope so. But at what cost? You know, you focus on the Premier League. We've got to push up the Premier League, haven't we? It's no good focusing on the Premier League to finish 11th. You focus on the Premier League to finish in the Europa Conference League spots.
Totally agree. Yeah, you bring players in to then focus on the Premier League. But if you don't enhance the squad and you let players go, I mean, I'm absolutely convinced there'll be a forward coming in, because why would they let Danny Ings go? They don't need the money. I mean, you can say you might want to free up wages, whatever, or it's a good deal. It might be a good deal. But if we've got 2 billionaire owners and they need that 15 million or whatever it is, 12 million plus add-ons, whatever it is, so desperately to survive that we go into the second half of the season with only one striker, I'll be absolutely staggered if they don't have a plan for bringing in, whether it's a Dembele, there's rumours of obviously a Jonathan David, whoever else it might be striker-wise. If you then got two players vying for those positions, sometimes one, sometimes two, would Ings want to play third fiddle to that? Is third fiddle a phrase? You can say second fiddle. Third fiddle a phrase? Maybe it is.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to play third or fourth fiddle. So
you even threw a fourth one in there.
It could be fifth fiddle if we got Archie Davies back, isn't it? So I'm convinced we'll bring in someone up top. We need someone desperately wide. Although, you know, the big link recently was Delafeu, and obviously he's now apparently got an injury and won't go anywhere.
There's rumours though of Jack Harrison I've seen today, but Newcastle apparently put a bid in last week for him of 20 million. He's mulling that over. Also, there's an extension to the contract at Leeds in the offing as well. I mean, he's a decent player. He's born in the Midlands, I think. He's born in Stoke or Staffordshire. What would you say to a Jack Harrison?
I feel like Jack Harrison, like I do around like a Daniel James. I think they've got moments of they can do in games, but I don't know how consistent now. I don't know whether they would really make us any better. I mean, I quite like him as a player. Scored an absolute banger today. Put his foot right through one, didn't he? Against Accrington. You know, great goal. But is he consistent? I mean, he's a wide player at the moment. I'd take anyone wide if they're available, because we've got such a lack of options for it. But I was thinking
definitely fits that work. You know, that work that Emery requires from his, and closing down that he requires from his players, and also that transition from a defense to attack. Whether Emery's watched a lot of him, I mean, I know he's a student of the game, so I'm sure he has, but he doesn't strike me as being an Emery player.
No, and I listen. I think, you know, you get anyone from Leeds, you know, that kind of attitude and approach. You know, you're going to get a hell of a work rate, because it's been drummed in by both Bielsa and obviously Jesse Marsch. But is the quality there? Is the quality that we talk about to take us? Is he a aspirational top 6, top 8 Premier League player? Well, that's we've got to be looking now if we get one of these players. I was thinking with Newcastle signing Anthony Gordon, let's you know, see what happens with that one for them, and if they get Harrison. Maybe there's a little cheeky Alan Saint-Maximin available. Does he have the work?
I'm not an ASM fan.
But I think But is he better than Bailey on a 6-month loan?
It's debatable, and he's very injury prone. every time he's played against Villa, he's always had a bad game. I
Tyrone
don't
Mings, isn't
know.
it? Sorts him out, but
Yeah. I just fair. He can be a match winner, but I wouldn't be clamouring for St Maximin.
no,
Definitely
I know what
not.
you mean.
But
I don't think
you
he's
never
going to work.
know.
I don't think he's going
Yeah.
to work, and also the reliability of it. But there's players moving around. The one thing I would say on transfers, which is keeping me quite calm, is a lot of clubs are waiting for stuff to happen. So obviously
Yes.
the big Guendouzi links, people are saying now like it's definitely not happening, and he's playing for Marseille tonight. But I don't think they've actually officially confirmed the Unahi signing. But if they're bringing him in, who obviously we were linked with, obviously had a great World Cup, then and maybe until that's confirmed, you can do a transfer until the afternoon of the 31st.
Or they
Even if
they get a helicopter over or whatever. So it can be done, but I think that's quite a complex one to be done. Whether it's done as a loan with an intention to buy, which I think McKennie's doing to Leeds, they've paid a 1.2 million loan fee, and then it's a 30 million transfer in the summer. So whether they do something like that with a Marseille, who knows? But yeah, I'm quite calm. I think one that we probably will do, because I think Leon is signing a striker for 10, 12 million euros. I think we'll bring Moussa Dembele in. I do think we will do that. Whether that again is on loan with an intention to buy or a higher loan fee. Obviously, his contract's up at the end of the season, so something like that allows him to keep his options open as well at the end of the season. And I think
yeah, I
that will
agree.
give us something up front as well.
Yeah, I agree. And just imagine if you did bring in a Guendouzi, and a Dembele, and then maybe you got like a wide player on loan from somewhere, like someone highly rated. All of a sudden, you've got think of the impetus you'd get. I actually felt like in transfer windows recently, I do think this has actually made a bit of a difference. All that chat we had. I remember that podcast we did at the start of the summer when we were. I mean, I was absolutely cock a hoop when I think
I
about it now.
know, with the way that we were playing,
We've
not
completed the
necessarily the way
transfer.
we were playing, but the results we were getting.
Yeah.
Carlos at the back,
Early
all that
doors.
sort of stuff.
Kamara highly rated, might be in the French World Cup squad in November. We were saying back in the day. Coutinho on a perm. My God, what a fantastic deal! And then we were thinking we're going to kick on now. It's going to be a Ward-Prowse. It's going to be Grealish is coming back. All these different rumours we had, and that was it. Other than a Dendoncker and a Bednarek at the depths of the transfer window. So I just think sometimes, actually, if you do all your business early, it's like, you go to a football match and there's a goal in the first minute and the rest of the game's rubbish. Or, or your first Christmas present's absolutely amazing and the rest of them are just nowhere near as good. I'm a big believer in expectation in life. If you're not expecting anything for dinner, then you're not too bothered. If you're expecting steak and chips and then you end up getting beans on toast, you're still more annoyed than you were if you were getting nothing. And we're expecting our owners are going to buy some big players. Well, if it goes to the end of January, for various reasons about availability of people and people making replacements themselves, it might give us a little injection of a little boost to really kick on for the rest of the season. Then a couple of players come into that first team, really freshen it up. I think we could be absolutely singing them.
Yeah, it's one of those crossroads again, isn't it, in the season for us? And we keep getting to these points, and I think it's the life of a Villa fan. It's right back to the Gregory days when we had Janino sitting in the office waiting to sign, and then Doug Ellis wouldn't put the extra money in or whatever it was, and then we ended up getting Steve Stone. It's been the life of a Villa fan, so I don't know. It's so difficult. It's so difficult. Loads of comments coming in, so I will go through them. Gary Howlett's joining us. A lot of off the mark transfer rumours in this window concerning Villa. Surely, if we were interested, they would have signed already. Who knows, Gary? Who knows? Super own Emery says Revan, Kane Young, and Sinisalo are on the bench against Southampton, yet we don't do everything. Yet Langer's one job, what a tool. Rich Edwards agreeing with you. I'm not sure what that was about, but yeah, agreeing with you nonetheless. Moreno and Duran, not enough to get top 7. I'm sorry, I'm being negative. Yeah, it could well be. It could well be. Richard says, yeah, we could actually make top 7 if we had a few more options. Totally agree. Michael, January is a very difficult window to do business, so please let's not lose it because the Red Brick Palace was not built in a day. Yeah. So we've got a mix of like people being patient, wanting to be patient and understanding, and people, wanting some signings. Rachel says, personally believe they're working hard to try and get deals done, but don't think it's happening for us. yeah, there's lots of things done in the background that we don't know about. So there's lots of things that need dotting and crossing. So we'll see. Um, Hoping John Duran hits the ground running, could surprise a few defenders who don't know him. Absolutely. Next season, West Ham, Leicester, Wolves will all be pushing for top 7. Liverpool and Chelsea will be back to normal. This season, they're not performing. You have a massive chance to get top 7.
I agree. I agree.
Agree, totally agree. But hopefully we improve as well.
Yeah.
Rich
I,
Edwards says Hakeem Ziyech from Chelsea. That's one that I didn't put on the graphics. But yeah, that's been muted as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, Ziyech should be good. I think whether these are on loan to do a bit of a job. But listen, I'm a big believer in that last comment we've got super with Emery. Life's about taking your opportunities. If all of the good-looking blokes in a town get knocked down with a bad virus, then you got to do some good work on a night out. It's simple as that. You've got to take your opportunities in life. Look at what Leicester did that season; they won the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I think that is the best example for me. Not everyone's got a divine right to do anything, but if you look at as a Villa fan, which teams are out of reach? I'd say Man City, really. Arsenal have been absolutely brilliant this year, but I think they will have a wobble, but they've been brilliant. So you say those two. Man United have been a lot better. We beat them, but I don't think they're absolutely anywhere near Leicester. I still think that they're inconsistent. Liverpool and Chelsea have been way off it. And then you've got Newcastle have obviously been an absolute, whirlwind, juggernaut. But really,
they've started just to drop a tiny bit.
Yeah, not scoring as many.
The form of I always forget his name. The winger. What's his name?
Almiron.
The form of Almiron's starting to drop. Like I say, they're bringing in St. Maximin, but he's not hitting the ground running. I think Isak's come on and done well, but Wilson's not fully fit. He's not playing as well. So there's a few bits there with Newcastle that might mean that they start to drop off. So I totally agree. I totally agree with all the comments. We want to be patient. We know we have to be patient because you look at those players, Augustinson, Bednarek, even Sanson, and you think like they weren't ever going to get in the first team. So what's the point in having them around? And what's the point in replacing them with equally the same type of player that just isn't going to improve us? But at the same point, we need players in.
Yeah, we absolutely do. We absolutely do. And look, I don't think it's been great getting these results. I've been pretty unconvinced about some of the performances. It's some great away performances, not to take that away. But I've been a bit unconvinced at times, but we've been getting the results, and I think we're all going, "Hey, great! We've had another win. Super Unai Emery's Clarendon Army marching on." But right now, we're wildly inconsistent. I think generally, even though we've not been recently, I think you can see a situation where that could drop off, and I think we could easily finish 11th or 12th or 13th, whatever. But if you can make the right kind of signings, and why would they let Ings go? Why would they let all these players go back on loan? You don't have to. Saints can terminate the Bednar loan. I get that.
He's injured now as well, isn't he, Ings? He's injured now.
Unbelievable that is. Look for us. I mean, I find it quite amusing, not in the sense that obviously because I think Danny Ings is a stand-up bloke. It's a shame for him, but like West Ham have gone all out to get him to get goals, and then in literally was it like a few minutes he played, then he's out for a few weeks. But Augustinson makes sense. You put Moreno in, and you've got Dini's back in training, so you can see why you might want to free that up, and he probably wants to play. Someone said in the comments that Ings wanted to go to West Ham. Yeah, but we didn't have to sell him.
Rachel said that.
We didn't have to sell him. If he wants to go, that's great. But it's got to be on your terms as a football club. Yeah. Because let's be clear, when you're trying to get players in, and you say, "Oh, we're Aston Villa. We finished 7th in the Premier League in season 22-23, and we've got a real plan to hit the top 6." People are going to start listening. If you say, "Oh, we finished 13th, but we've got Unai Emery and Coutinho who hasn't had a goal or assist," I don't think it's as potent as an argument. So, but also the calmness that we're seeing from some people, we're certainly being calmish, will be very, very different. Mate, Tuesday night, transfer deadline night. So I'm probably going to be playing football, but 9:30 pod, let's call it now.
Yeah, we'll be there, mate. We'll be there. Yeah. Live pod. Yeah.
Let's see how calm we all are. Then. Let's be going crazy.
Yeah. Is it 11 o'clock as well? The window slams shut. Yeah, we'll be on like 9:30 till 11. Yeah, definitely. So join us for that. Join us for that. Martin said, "Sorry you couldn't be on tonight. Suddenly felt ill and hoping to be on next time." Not a problem, Martin. Thanks for watching as well. Gary's asked a good question. Are the owners actually prepared to spend big?
Well, if you look at our transfer record compared to like a lot of teams, it's nothing, is it? There's all this talk of FFP still here and there. I like to think, from my knowledge of it, that we should be all right, basically. But I don't see why not. But we haven't seen it, have we? I thought they were going to do that in the summer, and I'm still thinking now, was that more of a sense of maybe they weren't sure of Gerrard? I don't know, from what had happened in the second half of the season, they didn't want to go for it.
Maybe.
But I felt like we were a blockbuster signing away from really making our mark, and we didn't do it.
Yeah,
we didn't do it. So maybe they are.
It seems to me that we've flitted around different strategies now. Whether that's Langer's fault, whether that's Perzo's fault, whether that's the owner's fault, but it seems to me that we're kind of flitted between strategies. We went for like young players. And to build the future of the club and signing great young players. And then Gerrard came in and we went for experienced players like here and now. And now I'm not quite sure what we're doing at the moment. And it does seem like Emery's clearing out. And it's like, do you accept this season as is because he's got us into a decent position and we can say, right, let's just take stock? Or do we take the fact that he's got us into a great position to say, right, let's twist now and go for players to try and get into that next level? And I think we're kind of in between two strategies at the minute.
Yeah, but if there are players available, there are players making moves. There are players around that have gone. There's a variety of reasons why players would leave clubs. They might want to, particularly if they're doing well, if they're playing in Europe or wherever it might be, Scotland, whatever, and they're in the hunt for a trophy, or they're still in Europe, for their team, or they're pushing for their National League Championship, or they're in the last stages of the cup, or whatever. You can see why sometimes they might think, is it the right time to join Aston Villa, 11th in the league in January, and is it the end of the world for me to wait till the summer, maybe get a better deal? Money talks, obviously, in some of these situations, but there are transfers happening, and there will be transfers happening, and we could look at the end of the window and say that would have strengthened our squad. So, and one of those, actually, is a reverse one, is West Ham buying Danny Ings, because if we get to the end of the window and we don't bring a striker in, then I'll be saying, I wish we'd bought that Danny Ings from West Ham, because, well, maybe not when he's injured, but you get my point, because you need options.
Yes, agreed. Guys, we've got great numbers watching, so please do leave a like on the video, help us spread the word of the channel. We are at 900 and I would imagine 935 subscribers now, and the growth over the last couple of weeks has just been phenomenal. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do. Help spread the word. We've been getting some great love on Twitter about our shows, the Talking Tactics shows, the Transfer Talk shows, our match reaction shows. So yeah, please do help us spread the word on the channel and help us get to that big 1K and beyond. It's mad to think, Kev, that we talk about 1,000 subscribers now. Like we were, I think, just after Christmas, we were about 500.
Well, mate, yeah, absolutely. Was it August when we went, obviously, full time on the channel with no one? So it's amazing. Yeah, I think we've said it a few times, but it's great to have the support that we've got, and obviously we want to just keep bringing all the Villa content, obviously, that we do, all of our strong opinions at times and disagreements. And it's great, obviously, to get all the input people give us as well, and things we might have missed, and just different takes on stuff. But it's a very, very interesting time in the Villa world, and I think it's been positive lately. That's one of the reasons why I think a lot of us are feeling.
Absolutely, people love talking about wins. People love getting on. When we're losing, it's difficult to try and pull any positives out, and it's difficult to think of anything different to say other than we're shit. But when we're doing well, it's great, because you've got loads of stuff to talk about. So long may it continue.
But I think also, like, people now, we are doing better. CS is maybe being a more attractive proposition for players. Whereas if we were languishing 17th in the league, look at all those teams down the bottom trying to bring people in. Like, it's no wonder that Dan Juma went thanks, but no thanks to Everton.
I don't blame him.
Yeah,
I don't blame him at all. Especially the manager going. The manager you were going to sign for goes. Why are you going to go there? So, I don't blame him. I'll go through the comments, and then we'll drop into something a little bit different, little different topic in a second. So Rich Edwards says, we're still good with FFP. Pretty sure Grealish money sorted, that there is no reason for not spending big. Just don't think we can get them now, maybe the summer. Gary Howlett says, need Nigel Kennedy to play fifth fiddle. Super Una Emery says, Guendouzi starting for Marseille, says he's not leaving for him. Yeah, we'll see. Hakeem Ziyech is the one for Rich. According to Twitter, we've had a bid rejected for Alberto Morello. Fee was around 10 million. Don't know how true that is. Yeah, we've got Super Una said you made a good point about Unahi. Rich Edwards says, seen today, Wolverhampton would have spent 75 million in January already. So yeah, they're going for it. They really do need to. Michael says we must keep a level head at this moment. Trust Emery and don't fall into the trap of wanting Tom, Dick, and Harry. I set off for two of them at the minute though. Yeah, but we'll see. Just right said we managed a few decent results with the current squad. Maybe we don't need anyone else. Yeah, not a bad point. And when we meant to sign Robbie Keane, remember that? Just when we were getting in our stride. Yeah, we signed it. We signed him way too late. We signed him 5 or 6 years too late, didn't we?
Yeah.
Why doesn't anyone want to come to Costa del Brummy? Exactly. Hopefully, when we get the stadium and all that built, it will be a much more attractive proposition. Now Kieran Tierney is being linked to Villa. We've already got 2 solid left backs. I can't see that. Western Ood says, I've given up with all these links now. Wait till it happens. John Steele says, great content, lads. Thank you so much. Even though I've got a bit of a bunged up nose, we're still on. Martin says, Kevin loves a comparison when we lose. And then Super Martin said, there's no point bringing players on who Emery doesn't feel fit his system. Spending for spending's sake is pointless, and I personally trust Emery knows far more than me or any of us. Absolutely. And I think the good thing is we've got obviously I'm not going to hide the fact that I really wanted Gerrard and I really wanted him to succeed, and I thought we needed that leadership, and I was really disappointed that we didn't see that from him. But I think the clear thing is to see from Emery is that he's got a real style of play. He coaches the players in that style of play, and he's going to want players who can fit that style of play, and that's refreshing to see as a Villa fan at the moment, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. I think one of the things that we can all see is that there is actually an idea. I saw someone put on Twitter actually when Gerrard was doing some punditry for I think it's for BT Sport when he was doing that, and it was halftime one of the games, and he just said the manager needs to get into the players, get a reaction. And someone had put a comment saying what about tactics? What about ideas and what to do? And it's absolutely true. We can see there's a plan, there's ideas. It's absolute night and day from what we've had previously. It's clearly the best pedigree manager I've had in a long time, but to get the initial reaction we've seen has been unbelievable. But I do worry. I do have a little worry in the back of my mind that it drops off a little bit. Villa, we can have good spells, bad spells. I can't remember the last time we finished the season strongly, really. I can't remember that. Maybe only the lockdown season when we came back and obviously got 8 points in the last 2 games to miraculously stay up. And obviously the season when we got promoted and we had obviously that amazing run when Jack came back to win 10 games in a row in the Championship. So if it drops off a little bit, you could get beaten easy by Man City and obviously Arsenal. Maybe then you lose to a Leicester. Who knows? A Leicester could spring a win. They've still got some good players. And then all of a sudden it drops off a little bit, and then you'll get people saying, why didn't we strengthen? So
yeah, that's the risk. That's the risk.
Really is.
But going on to Emery and the start that he's made, obviously 5 wins from 7 games Premier League games that he's been in charge, and obviously 1 draw, so only 1 defeat. If you go back as well to the games before, that's 9 games we've had. We've won 6, drawn 1 and lost 2. So the form since Gerrard left has been phenomenal, but in particular with Emery, and he's obviously nominated for Manager of the Month. I think there's been pictures on Twitter, like graphics on Twitter, to say that we've had the best form as well during that time. So he's got to be a big contender to win it, hasn't he?
I think he's absolutely got to be. I mean, obviously there's some pretty good teams out there. Arteta's obviously had a pretty good month, and obviously there's a few others that have been nominated. But I think you've got to look at it almost compared to where we came from. We were right at the arse end of the league, weren't we? Pardon my French. When he took over. And for him to do what we've done, and also started the month with a draw, and then we've obviously won all the games since then. I think he's got to be a shoo-in from my perspective. I might be slightly biased.
Yeah, and I guess a question for you, Kev. What has it been that's most impressed you about Emery coming in? Because there's been lots of changes, there's been subtle changes, there's been big changes, but what has really impressed you, bar other than the results, clearly?
Well, it's the fact that it seems like we've got that. What you know, we've longed for an identity, as we call it, and it will take time to get that. But you can see what he's trying to do, even when we're messing around with it at the back, and maybe we haven't quite got the personnel to play that game. You can see it's an idea. When you look at the shape of the team, early on when we're playing basically a 4-2-2-2, and and you see what the difference is to McGinn when Coutinho's come on, they've got jobs to do. I think it's just the ideas that he's got, but on top of that, you can really see that he cares. And I think you can talk about managers being calm on the side, but he's animated. He cares. He's trying to get his messages into the players. And also, I just think it's his standards. All you hear about, his meticulous detail in terms of researching. I think before he came, did he watch like 16 games or something?
Yeah, he locked himself away or something while he was waiting for his work permit. He locked himself away and just watched every game, even games from last season. So he's a real student of the game, and I think you can definitely see that because, and particularly away from home, you can see how he kind of studies the opposition and sets up a way to play that is really effective against that team. And I think we covered this on our Talking Tactics show with Gareth. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. The last one against Southampton, where at the moment we've had the situation. I know Brighton, we went 1-0 down and then we came back, which was fantastic. The other games we've gone 1-0 up and then we've just sat back, but we've still had a threat. We've still had a plan. It's not just been like, let's just keep everyone back and hope for the best. And I really like the way that, against Southampton, I know they were a slightly weaker team than the Tottenham, but the football we were playing was fantastic, particularly in that first half.
I've seen some videos after the event because obviously I was at a non-league game that day, so I didn't see the match. But some of the plays unbelievable, some of the intricate link-up plays. So yeah, it's been brilliant. I'd also like to point to Rachel's comment as well. I think she's absolutely
Yeah, I'll
bang
put
on.
that up. Yeah,
Yeah, connection with the fans. I think that's a massive point, Rach, because you look at obviously everything from that really famous, was it the Instagram post of him? I think he was in the North Stand in one of the hospitality boxes there, just sort of looking at floodlit Villa Park and saying what it means, obviously with the support of the team. And I think the team have responded with that. There was, it was the Leeds game, obviously, where we didn't play amazing, but the team were singing all the way through, and it makes a massive difference. And I think he's galvanised that fan base. Lets everyone know obviously how much it means to him, and he knows how much it means to us. And I think that's been massive.
Yeah, brilliant. I think it's fantastic. Michael agrees, says his organisation. It's just been a real breath of fresh air. It always helps when you get results, doesn't it? But I think even if the results hadn't been as impressive as they were, I still think we'd have had the same kind of feeling around that we've actually got, a plan. He's actually, given clear instructions to players rather than waiting for one of them to do something. And you can see the difference with like the likes of Konza, some of the more unsung players, Konsa, Mings, obviously Kamara and Louise particularly has come on really well. And Ashley Young obviously get at that right back spot. Some of the more unsung heroes are actually benefiting from the fact that they've got an idea and they've got a plan to how to play.
Yeah, I think also like even Watkins' goal contributions, whether it be goals or assists, has improved as well. He's involved in quite a few goals lately. Look, I do think people want success. And if he'd come on board and maybe he's only won one or two games, then you'd want to be seeing some kind of green shoots. We want immediate success. We want early success. But I think a lot of Villa fans, almost universally from what I've seen, are prepared to be really patient with him. They think he's the right guy. And now they've seen what they've seen in the first 7 games. There's a real bit of confidence there. So I just wanted to see what we do when he's had a summer window. I know that was always what we're waiting for Gerrard to do as well. But, it's less moments of magic now, isn't it? And more proper coaching. Give them a summer window, get some big names in. It could be a very, very exciting next sort of 12 months or so for us.
Yeah. I do. It's like slight caution. I think you touched on it before. whereby at the moment we've won games where we've managed to not hold on, but we've had a plan. I do. It there is going to be a time where we are going to go through a couple of dodgy results where we're going to want this difference from Emery. Can he change up the game? Because at the moment it's easy going 1-0 up and then kind of protecting what you have. But it's more difficult, if we go 1-0 down at home. I know we did against Wolves, to be fair to him, and he changed it at half time. But, if that happens kind of consistently, it's going to be interesting to see, how he navigates that, particularly with what we talked about before, not necessarily having the options on the bench to bring on to change the game.
Yeah, absolutely. But you might also see a surprise from the bench at some point. If we don't get the players in and he's forced to put people in there, you might be forced to all of a sudden bring in a Caden Young if something happens to Bailey, or you might be forced obviously to play John Duran. So and that would be interesting. And I think he'd be getting a bit of undue pressure then, obviously, if the results weren't going the way. It's also not necessarily down to him. He's not the one paying for the players. And it might be that, as we've seen a lot happen lately, but if people, there's rumours, obviously, Ziyech is on, well over 100 grand a week. Do you want to pay that kind of money for him if he's going to start? And I think he's a quality player, Ziyech. I think he'd do well. So maybe that's the kind of quality you need. And maybe actually that's why you're freeing up a wage from Augustinsson and Bednarek and Gilbert and Sanson to be able to fund stuff like that.
Yeah, it makes sense that you're taking out 5 or 6 players to bring in 2 high quality players. That does make sense. It's just, have we got the time and the speed to do it? Like Timon says, even if we are willing to pay, that doesn't mean the player is willing to come. And it's potentially worse in January. Supermark said Unai doesn't have the same language issues as Gerrard. Yeah. Richard said Mings and Conser back to their best form. Absolutely. And then, Gary said, just hope the owners haven't gone back on their word concerning Emery's transfer budget. I think the higher we finish up in the league as well, that'll determine, what we do. I think that would be great if we can finish in that top 10, and then that gives them an incentive to push on to get into that, Europa Conference League or Europa League spot. So yeah, I think it's positive signs. Anything else you wanted to cover, my man? Or anything else in the comments? Any questions you've got for us? Anything you wanted to cover?
Well, we'll obviously wait and see if any more comments come in with suggestions. I just wanted to give just a few moments, obviously, on Aston Villa's women's team.
Sure.
Obviously, unfortunately, knocked out of the League Cup. Not an easy game against Arsenal, but back in action tomorrow with a women's FA Cup game against AFC Fylde Women, which should be an easy enough win.
What round is that? Is that second round or third round? Is it?
I'm not actually sure what round of the cup that is exactly, but I know they've obviously got a cup game tomorrow. And then that's followed up with a double header in the league in Feb against Brighton. So we've got Brighton sort of two games in a row, and Brighton a second bottom. So it's a real opportunity actually for Villa's ladies. Made some really, really good signings, obviously in the transfer window. A real opportunity to push on in the league and really start really trying to trouble the top positions.
Yeah, it's the last 32 of the FA Cup tomorrow, so good chance to get into the last 16, obviously, and then you never know. We could be women's FA Cup winners this year.
Why not? Well, I've never seen the Villas men win the FA Cup. It was that debacle against Arsenal a few years ago, which has been indelibly linked to my brain and my soul. We didn't even have a shot, did we, in that game? So it'd be nice to get a bit of FA Cup action.
Yeah, and I think a couple of the women's players have been nominated for Player of the Month. I think Kenza Darley and Kirsty Hansen have been nominated. So, she's absolutely phenomenal, Kenza Darley, at the minute. Like, absolute brilliant signing.
We were great in the Man City game. I watched the whole of that game, and I thought we played really well. We were really in the game. Easily could have won it. So the signs are really bright. Obviously, the manager signed a new contract as well. So it's great to have Carla Ward here a bit longer. So I think the signs are really good. Obviously, the under-21s, they had a great result against West Brom.
Kessa Hayden back in. Reiki scored. Brad Young scored too. So it's getting the band back together.
Yeah, I love that. I love that post. It was good. So, the feel-good factors there. You've obviously got the plans for the ground. Just get this men's team to be back where Aston Villa belong, the top reaches of the Premier League. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah. We've got Super Emery. He's got the January transfer window on his mind. Do you think we'll sign anyone on deadline day last minute?
Yeah,
He could go right down to the last minute, and we'll be on. So join us on transfer deadline day. We'll be on. So yeah, you'll see. Michael says was thinking about this. On the Holt, it says we are the 12th player. Let's push the team on.
Yeah,
I guess that's a wider point in terms of the atmosphere at Villa Park. It's been slightly better the last couple of games, but I still think there's room for improvement. And I know they're trying to push something on next Saturday about scarves and really creating an atmosphere from the stands. So I think anything that we could do that's not cheesy, but is it creates an intimidating and a great atmosphere. It gets the kids going and obviously translates onto the pitch. It's vital, isn't it?
100%. I think it really makes a massive difference. So the players, if it's quiet and it's cautious, then and you've maybe not been in best form, and then you have a heavy touch, and there's a few murmurs from the crowd. We just need to be uber positive. Like, it's always the point made, isn't it? But if you were working in a coffee shop on a 9-hour shift, and you spilt a bit of coffee the first one you served, and people started booing you or moaning, it probably affects you the next time you made a coffee. And these can't be any different. These players. We can make Villa Park either a testing atmosphere for our own players or an intimidating ground for the opposition. And we have been better lately. Villa fans, I think, get sometimes, it's a fair, criticism, but also can get a bit of a bad press sometimes. And actually, I think a lot of fans like it when I see games on telly. It doesn't sometimes.
Yeah. Tottenham have been booing their players off at halftime. I think Man City were booing their players off at halftime the other week. So
unbelievable. What Man City have done in recent years. 20 years ago, they were playing Gillingham in like the third tier playoff final. I mean, that's absolutely staggering, isn't it? When Brighton were booing Potter, weren't they, before he left?
Yeah.
They're giving grief for leaving. You're booing me, you idiots. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. John said O'Neill was our last elite manager, but he wasn't a training ground manager and didn't have a plan B. Emery is everything O'Neill was, but so much more. Let's hope so, mate. Let's hope so. AFC Fylde are going to be the next Stevenage. Let's hope not.
Watch out for short corners, ladies.
Yeah. Martin Leonard said, do you think... Martin says, sorry. Do you think Langer should keep his job or give Emery full control of transfer operations?
Give it to Emery, I say. Let him run it all.
I think he is, isn't he? I think basically Emery tells Langer who he wants, and then Langer tries to go and get him. But I do think Emery's trying to bring his own man in. So I don't know what that means for Langer, whether he'll leave or whether they'll find a different role for him. But I'm pretty sure Emery's trying to bring his own director of football in.
Yeah, Perslow's been quiet, hasn't he, as well?
Yeah.
Mm.
Richard said, like to see if Caden Young gets minutes. Yeah, we'll see. I think maybe towards the end of the season, if we are, if we're not really going to do anything, we'll see. Probably see him get minutes.
I think with the absolute best of intentions here, I hope he doesn't get minutes. Because he's so young, and we'd hope if we're pushing for top 8, we've strengthened suitably that there's not room for him. If the likes of Sanson were struggling to get minutes, and all the other players we've had recently that have struggled to get minutes, then if he is getting minutes, I think that's because we failed a little bit in the window.
Yeah, you think like maybe like second last game of the season or something, like Philogene and
be lovely
a few years ago. And they came on against Spurs. You think something like that, but not at this stage of the season. No. Not when we need wins. Michael says Kenza Darley, the female Gordon Cowans. She's a special player, absolutely, mate. Emery is an asset for man. Perslow won't last long if he backstabs Emery. And then she says a new director of football is needed, so Lang can go back to analysis. Weston says billionaires know the best time to strengthen is when things are going well and not when things are bad. You do things in a reactionary way. Gary said Dougie and Alicia are getting back together as well. I don't know if they actually split up, but we'll see. I don't know.
I like you bring a little bit a bit of gossip to the podcast.
Yeah. Villa Ultras, that's what we need.
Let me know.
Say that again.
What's going on in Love Island? I don't know. I used to.
Yeah, yeah, a bit. It's when my daughter started watching it like a year or so ago, and then that was like, I can't watch it anymore. Like that's just too
You've done
bad.
that.
I can't watch it. Yeah. Uh, Rich says, do you think Louise will go to Arsenal in the summer? Do you think he'll leave?
I think at the moment, signing a new contract, he's playing as best as well as he ever played. He's formed a great partnership with Kamara. I don't know if he'll want to leave, but
Yeah,
let's see. Let's see.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, John says we could see Dini back at left back with Moreno left wing. Yep, he wouldn't panic if we buy no more players this month. That is an option on that left hand side as well. And we've seen Cash play further forward as well. So there are players that can be utilised in different positions. So yeah, we shall see. Rachel said, don't think so. Arsenal moved on to other targets. Yeah, I think they're after that Casiedo, aren't they? And that's
Mm,
caused a bit of drama at Brighton. Basically, Brighton are Arsenal's feeder team now, aren't they?
they are, yeah.
Essentially.
They are.
It's a
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
like
yeah.
Southampton and Liverpool back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Irig Bonham, recall him or let him continue.
Well, if Nakamba goes as well, then you've got Den Dunker really is in the base of the midfield support. So, but
I
I
think
don't know.
Irig Bonham's better. I have to say, like Den Dunker's not played that many times, and he was starting to look pretty good. I think he had one or two good games. At the Brentford game, he played really well. But the last couple of weeks, he's looked like he's running in treacle.
Yeah,
I think I'd rather have Irig Bonham.
yeah, he's one for the future, isn't he? Though I think.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh, yeah. So, Kev, it's going to be it's going to be an interesting time. You've made a great point about deadline day. So, yeah, we'll be on definitely Tuesday night, 9:30. So, join us for hopefully talking about signings that we've made. And you never know. For we've got Super in Emery, we might have a last minute deadline day signing, and we will be live here on the show
Yeah.
to report it.
Just to say before we go, Tillman's obviously put that comment about if Guendouzi comes in, what's on midfield looking like, and who would come out. I think Guendouzi has been playing in the wider midfield positions for Marseille by all accounts. So that might be whether that's a Bailey Buendia, McGinn type position potentially. So I don't think it actually would be straight in for a Louise or Kamara. Potentially, I think Louise could play further forward in one of those positions as well. So I think it gives you just another option. But I do think it's more the sort of it's exactly how you describe it, but maybe more that right hand side of midfield, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Being quite narrow.
yeah, exactly. It could be Guendouzi we bring in. It could be Dembele we bring in. It could be Hakim Ziyech we bring in. It could be anyone. Who knows? Who knows what they're doing? But we'll be here on Tuesday to cover that. We'll also be back for a match preview for the Leicester game next week. So yeah, please stay tuned on the channel for more content. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Like I say, we are at 935 by the last viewing. So yeah, fantastic support. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, but please do subscribe if you are new. Please do make sure you leave a like on this video just to help us spread the word and help us get to that 1K. Kev, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, to have you on this Saturday evening, and can't think of anyone better to spend a Saturday evening with.
Stop it.
With you and the viewers. So yeah, thank you to all of you for tuning in. And as always, the last thing to remember is you'll follow the Villa.
See you Tuesday, everyone. Fingers crossed.